I don't consider myself someone who wastes things. I use my electricity wisely, I use my food wisely, I use my money wisely, but something that I have found so incredibly hard to use wisely is paper. Paper, paper, paper. Sure, if I'm given paper, I can use it wisely and make it last as long as possible, but what I feel we as a society are wasting are the very things that provide us with oxygen, the things that build our houses and provide us with fruits, the things that are being cut down to benefit the cattle ranching and the rubber industry. The things that we as humans and almost every other species literally can't live without. Trees. And the reason I've put so much thought into this is that I had/got to write an environmental song about deforestation for my geography class, and with doing all this research for the song came finding out so much more about why we were cutting down the trees. The main causes of deforestation are the farming industry, the lumber industry, the rubber industry, cattle ranching, and the leading cause of deforestation, paper. It's not that I disagree a ton with the reasons for deforestation. These industries are essential to this modern world, and to be honest, I think we need them just as much as the trees. Thus, doing whatever these industries are doing to keep them going is fine with me, yet cutting down trees still bothers me a lot. I even went as far as to attempt to start a trend on Snapchat where I took really zoomed in pictures of my friends' faces, put tree emojis in their nostrils, and wrote "Save the Trees" on top. The trend didn't really get too far, but I feel as though I've become more aware of the paper I'm using and also the paper I'm using wisely. For instance, when I was working at a concession stand for a school event, I was told to give each person a napkin with their cookie. I ripped each napkin in half, literally using half the napkins I could have used. I was not only using my resources wisely, but no one even noticed I was giving them a ripped half of a napkin. The other day when I was offered a bagel, I politely declined the paper plate that came with it and simply just said, "Save the trees." These are minuscule things compared to what can really be done to save the trees, but think about it. I'm one person, using less paper than I could have had, and if you start doing it too, then now we have two people using less paper. These small yet effective changes will start to build up over time, and I believe that we can make a small impact. Okay, so back to saving the trees. Exactly 1 year ago, I did a group project for school where we had to pick a Langston Hughes poem to read at our poetry slam. I distinctly remember our teacher giving us each a 35-page packet of every Langston Hughes poem we could choose from. We could have just gotten one packet per group, or have a class set of packets, or even have us return the packets to use for the students next year. I still have this packet because I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. I felt I was wasting the trees. In doing this, the teacher had to use more paper from the storage room, causing the school to have to buy more paper, causing more trees to have to get cut down in the long run. I feel strongly about this, and I encourage you to really think about how the paper you use is causing trees to be cut down. So basically, you've just heard me rant on about how we as a society are killing the trees, but this has all just been an introduction to what I really have to say. This past Friday, I had absolutely nothing to do after school, which is highly unlikely for a person like me because I'm always swamped with activity and stimulation. I was walking my 6 blocks down my favorite street full of cute shops, construction, and restaurants back from the bus stop, which I do every day, but it's usually done in a rush because I have to get home and do something important. But when I was walking home this past Friday, there was freedom and opportunity ahead of me. I had money in my pocket, so I decided to take a detour 1 block over and stop at Barnes & Noble. When I got there, I found a new, hip, inexpensive book to read because I hated the one I was currently reading, which is very usual for me as well, and purchased it. I was very excited to read this book. In fact, I needed to sit down and read it right that very second. Yes, I would buy a cozy beverage and curl up at one of those tables at Barnes & Noble. In fact, there happened to be a Starbucks attached to this very Barnes & Noble. I went over and purchased my usual winter drink, a tall chai tea latte with almond milk, and sat down at an open table. Honestly, I have a fear of those plastic lids with the holes to drink out of because as you slowly tilt it back, you never know when the flaming hot liquor will come and ouch! It burned your tongue. Anyways, this chai tea latte was way too hot, and I needed to go outside and open the lid to let it cool down. The weather was cold, and I had a coat, so it was tolerable. I sat down at a table outside of Barnes & Noble, lifted the lid off my drink, and I was about to pull out my book when I looked at the scene in front of me. It was full of people of all different shapes and sizes, all with different stories. I couldn't resist. I had to sit there and people watch. So I sat there laughing to myself about every person that just passed by, about how they had just lost their job, or they were enjoying their new life as a mother, or they were going to get food turned tonight, whatever that means. So when I felt I had people watch to my full potential, I decided to walk home. So why am I telling you all this? Because when I was finishing my drink on the way home, I was now stuck with this cup. My first thought when I got home was to throw it away, but of course I couldn't bring myself to do it. That would be wasting the trees. Plus, the plastic lid itself takes over 1,000 years to decompose, and I don't believe in single-stream recycling. Why would I? Anyways, I studied the cup. The sleeve supposedly uses 34% less paper than the original, whatever that means, and on the same sleeve it says intended for single use only. These two statements are completely counterintuitive to each other because they want you to use the cup just once, yet they are putting so much energy into remaking these 35% less paper sleeves when they could be doing the best thing for the environment, literally just reusing the sleeves. telling people instead of throwing away the sleeve, give it back to the barista and they can reuse it in another cup. Then I looked at the cup itself. It's made of thin cardboard with printing on it, which also is counterintuitive because they expect you to use the sleeve, yet they print stuff underneath that the sleeve covers up. I spent the next hour or so examining this cup, coming up with a list of everything that is completely and totally wrong with it, making me not want to waste it even more. I still have it sitting on my desk, and I even wrote on the lid, "Don't throw away," just to make extra sure anyone, or me in particular, wouldn't forget that it is now a prized possession and I can't possibly waste it. So why am I making this video? Why am I boring you with this weird, unusual content? It's because I want you to help save the trees. Do you really need a full napkin or a paper plate with your bagel? Try to use recycled materials instead of wrapping paper. Encourage your teachers to minimize paper use and maybe give your Starbucks cup sleeve back to the barista and tell them to reuse it. Raise awareness about this matter and maybe help get my Snapchat trend going. Finally, what do you think I should do with the cup?